I am so sorry, Mom." Those words from Savannah Guthrie echoed across a live national broadcast. It was a private plea broadcast to millions, directed solely at Nancy Guthrie, wherever she might be. For 35 years, 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie had anchored herself in the same Catalina Foothills home. To the neighbors, she was a fixture of routine, early morning walks, and perfect attendance at Sunday services. Debilitating spinal pain defined her reality. Reaching the mailbox was a rare triumph, often an impossible task. Her life was measured in rituals: hearing aids beside the bed, heart medication taken at 10 o'clock sharp. Trusting in 3.5 decades of neighborhood safety, she frequently left her rear entrance unsecured. A mother and a grandmother gone. On January 31st, someone exploited that open door and took her. She remains missing. This week, a former high-ranking official looked into the camera and called the scene corrupted. Not merely flawed, nor simply mismanaged. Corrupted. The speaker was Richard Carmona, a former United States Surgeon General and Pima County Sheriff. He once commanded the department now searching for Nancy, making his assessment particularly devastating. You cannot fix a tainted crime scene. Once compromised, it is ruined. A delivery driver breached the perimeter. A deputy allowed a pool service crew with no history at the address into the secure yard. Landscapers arrived with heavy gear. Journalists captured images of Nancy's blood on the porch from inside the tape. Social media influencers followed. Within 20 hours, the site was contaminated. The FBI usually takes 2 weeks. The home was released in under a day, and DNA was sent to Florida rather than Quantico. The co-founder of Othram, the lab that cracked the Koberger case, labeled that decision a disaster. The testing process is destructive. Once the sample is consumed, there is no second chance for justice. 57 days. No arrests, no suspects. Just a botched scene that likely held the key to everything. This is Evidence HQ. We investigate this disappearance weekly with the depth the mainstream media avoids. Follow us and enable notifications. What we are about to reveal fundamentally alters the entire investigation. On March 26th, Savannah Guthrie shared a detail with Hoda Kotb that completely reframes this mystery. Her mother's back doors were found propped open, not smashed, not jimmied, but intentionally held. Savannah's initial instinct was a medical crisis, hoping paramedics had entered to save her mother. That hope vanished. Nancy's phone, purse, and shoes were inside. Her medication remained on the counter. Her hearing aids were bedside, yet the doorbell camera had been violently ripped from its housing. A prop door is not the hallmark of a panicked escape. It is a deliberate staging, meant to accommodate the transport of someone who could not walk. The abductor knew they would be carrying her. They knew her frailty. They knew she was immobile. Such specific knowledge is not held by a stranger. It belongs to someone familiar with that interior, someone who watched her move, someone who knew the layout. Consider the implications of that familiarity. If you left your door open for 35 years, who would eventually notice that vulnerability? Family members, neighbors, and anyone who performed work on or around the property. The weekly landscaper, a plumber fixing a leak, or the crew building the house next door. They would see that open door countless times, mentally cataloging the habit without even realizing it. When they needed an entry point, they didn't have to search. They already knew the way in. In late March, federal agents returned to the foothills, not for a canvass, but with targeted objectives. They questioned locals about a property near Nancy's that was vacated just before she vanished. Their focus shifted to specific homes under construction throughout the immediate neighborhood. They demanded names of every contractor active before February 1st. The Bureau doesn't seek names without cause. A laborer in the Catalina Foothills has a valid reason to be present during daylight hours. They would know which houses were occupied and which residents lived alone. They would understand the street layouts and the precise positioning of every security camera. Over months, they could study a target house without ever appearing out of place. January 11th. Investigators focused on a single point in time, requesting surveillance from 21 days prior to the disappearance. A resident, Aldine Meister, reported seeing an unidentified individual lurking near the residence of NY during that window. The figure appeared suspicious, his features obscured by a brim pulled tight against his face. Clad in workwear on January 11th, he would have vanished into the background of a neighborhood teeming with daily labor. Now, federal agents are scrutinizing every manifest and identifying every contractor involved in local projects. They are vetting everyone with a valid reason to be there, fearing that professional access served as a mask for surveillance. An audit of Pima County's public records revealed several active construction filings within the Catalina Foothills district. Multiple sites within a quarter-mile radius of NY's doorstep were undergoing authorized renovations leading up to February 1st. These documents granted various crews a lawful, recorded presence on those specific streets throughout the workweek. Agents are currently cross-referencing these names, allowing a psychological profile of the suspect to finally take shape. The subject is likely someone permitted to roam the area during broad daylight. A manual laborer, perhaps, equipped with industrial tools and a vehicle capable of concealing a human body. This person could haunt the streets at 2 a.m. unnoticed, having already normalized their presence during working hours. They understood the vulnerabilities of the rear entrance and were privy to a strictly timed medical regimen. They bypassed security systems with ease and maintained a total communications blackout near NY's home between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. This chilling technical observation originates from Morgan Wright, an intelligence veteran who analyzed local data and confirmed the total absence of any electronic signatures. Nothing. This wasn't a fortunate amateur. It was a tactician who understood signal intelligence and chose to vanish digitally. This mirroring of the Brian Kohberger case suggests that a digital void can be as damning as a fingerprint. Now, a critical piece of information shifts the investigation from a quest for profit to something far more intimate. Reports on March 28th indicate the Guthrie family received a second correspondence, not a threat, but a plea for forgiveness. The text allegedly hinted that the captor was unaware of the critical nature of NY's existing cardiac issues. It claimed she had passed away, a stark contrast to the initial demand for millions in untouched Bitcoin. The digital wallet remains dormant. The federal bait remains unclaimed. The first message was a cold ultimatum. The second was a confession of regret. In the silence between those notes, the entire dynamic shifted. Perhaps the scheme collapsed, NY's health failed, or two different minds were operating behind those messages. Statements suggest the family views only two of the communications as authentic pieces of the puzzle. 2. The family engaged with these specific notes, even offering a desperate pledge of financial cooperation. If federal experts deemed these messages credible enough to warrant a direct reply, they likely held secret markers hidden from the public. If that second note truly mentioned her passing, the author isn't guessing about Nancy's fate. They know it, and they are burdened by a heavy sense of culpability. We aren't looking at a con man, we're looking at a haunted soul. I'll offer a perspective others might avoid. I am convinced the second correspondence is entirely legitimate. The author likely shared a personal connection with Nancy, and their apology was likely a way to soothe their own conscience. It was an act of contrition for witnessing an 84-year-old's death during a botched operation. This is the conclusion the evidence suggests. If your analysis differs, I invite your perspective. Was that second note authentic? Was the kidnapper a familiar face from the local workforce? Or are we looking at a different kind of predator altogether? Your insights matter, as they define whether we hunt a ghost or someone Nancy saw every morning. Coincidentally, a Pima County deputy faced charges this week for an abduction involving his official vehicle. While distinct from NY's ordeal, it casts a long shadow over the integrity of the lead agency. Officials have unanimously ordered Sheriff Nanos to provide sworn testimony by April 7th. A staggering 241-0 vote of no confidence proves his own rank and file have abandoned him. Reports indicate that the interior of NY's residence offers virtually no clues regarding her sudden exit. This lack of physical evidence points toward either a professional cleanup or a fundamentally compromised investigation. On March 29th, Brian Enton confirmed his return to Arizona, marking day 57 of the search. His arrival follows a brief absence after 44 grueling days of local reporting. His presence signals a shift. Investigators and seasoned journalists rarely revisit a site unless they anticipate a major breakthrough is imminent. A crucial 10-day window has begun. By April 7th, legal mandates will force the sheriff to provide testimony under oath regarding the investigation. National coverage intensifies on April 6th when Savannah returns to the airwaves, just as the results from the genetic genealogy lab are expected to land. The timing is precision engineered. CeCe Moore of Parabon Nanolabs recently issued a chilling forward warning aimed directly at the individual who abducted Nancy. Detection is inevitable. Modern genetic tracing operates independently of criminal databases, making traditional anonymity a thing of the past for the suspect. Success hinges on a single distant relative, perhaps a third cousin who shared their biological profile with 23andMe. It takes only one grandparent's upload to Ancestry to provide the necessary branch on a family tree. leading investigators to a specific name. For those following this mystery, stay tuned and subscribe. Next week's update reveals a hidden connection that has completely escaped mainstream media scrutiny. We have been scrutinizing the ownership history of a specific vacant lot currently under federal investigation. These records fundamentally alter the known sequence of events. This is a call to action for the Tucson community. Anyone who performed construction work in the Catalina Foothills last January should contact the authorities at 1-800-CALL-FBI. One confidential tip is all it takes. A reward of $1.2 million is on the table. Despite 40,000 leads, the one piece of evidence that closes the case remains missing. It is now day 57. With a compromised crime scene and a second note containing an apology, the FBI is focused on identifying specific contractors. Somewhere in a forensic facility, scientists are reconstructing a lineage from microscopic traces of DNA that were never meant to be recovered. The killer remains unaware of how rapidly the genealogical circle is closing in on their hidden identity. But the growth of a family tree is relentless, and the truth is slowly branching toward the surface. The disappearance of Nancy Guthrie is a heart-wrenching reminder that our greatest strength, our trust, can also be our deepest vulnerability. For 35 years, Nancy saw her neighborhood as a sanctuary, leaving her doors unlocked as a testament to peace. But the open door that defined her kindness became the very gateway for a predator. This tragedy teaches us two vital lessons. First, vigilance is an act of love. Protecting the elderly in our communities isn't just about installing cameras. It's about recognizing their fragility and being the eyes and ears for those who can no longer defend themselves. Nancy wasn't just a headline. She was a grandmother whose life was measured in the quiet rituals of heart medication and Sunday morning walks. Second, it serves as a chilling warning. The truth is written in our very blood. In an age of genetic genealogy, there are no more perfect crimes. To those who exploit the weak, know that science is a relentless hunter. The digital void you create will eventually be filled by the branches of a family tree closing in on your identity. Let us honor Nancy's memory by closing the doors to complacency and opening our hearts to the safety of our neighbors. Justice is not a ghost, it is an inevitability.